Welcome to TradeNBI.com. This is John. This report is for the 24th. Well, we saw a little bit of weakness on the breakdown here, and this is that shakeout right down here, starting to turn negative, and it went further negative. Um, and that's the problem where it never got to that positive reading, even though we were seeing a lot of inflow, at least from a magenta leading yellow in this particular stage. But we started to see a little bit of that steady build of short interest, and that was enough to create a little bit of drive. News wise, of course, there's always going to be some speculation as to what is the justification for it. But at the end of the day, intraday readings were pretty clear on it, and we've just not seen enough of a reset from short-term buyers to give us anything. And once we had that breakdown right here, where we started to cross cyan with the short-term buyers, and orange popping up above it, put us right into the category of softness. Turning to treasuries, you can see the yield continuing to decline slightly here, and again, this is going to get back and forth depending on what the perception is of inflation and whether there's going to be a decrease in the amount of debt needed. And that would be an interesting one going forward. This becomes a critical one because this is the first time we're seeing oil uh, taking a dip below that 70 level, and this becomes that critical factor because this is really going to be our inflationary cue, and whether it can be sustained below that level and continue to fall. Obviously, the rate of decrease at this particular stage is not enough to have a significant impact at this particular stage, so they'll wait. From a euro standpoint, of course, they're very excited about what happened in Germany. You know, they consider it's always funny to me because it's the difference between socialist A and socialist B winning, and they call the ADF or AFD conservative, but uh, in terms of we understand it, it's just extreme left versus less left. And obviously, there's a disconnect in the definitions of what far right means, considering they're all socialists. So as you move to that scale, it goes from communist to, what you would call, fascist, and then you get into socialist. So strange, but gold isn't letting up at all. It's still remaining up towards the peak, and again, it's going to break the 3,000. It's just a question of when that final impetus is to push it forward. This particular stage still looking pretty strong from a reading standpoint, though we're seeing potential of a little short interest to pop up in there. But again, without a change in what we're expecting in near-term inflation, it has nowhere to go. And of course, you're going to get a follow-up with crypto at some point. Of course, with the market fade, people pull funds in there to cover that margin situation, and actually the readings for margin are pretty high. So a lot of people are 100% into the market because where else are you going to go at this particular stage with crypto having been so quiet for so long here that traders are having to scramble for any kind of gain, and we see the same thing in ETH performing relatively the same. So the dynamic is pretty consistent overall, and I think we've talked about this. We're going to get this sideways action for a little bit of time until there's some clarity as to actually what the direction of things is going to be and whether we get any real readings coming out of one of the coming weeks setups. Flipping to the 5 minute chart here, you can see from early morning it was pretty straightforward. I mean, there was nothing to do but just continue short all day. And then as we opened up for the weekend, slight improvement here, and they're filling back in some of it. The European session early, they got up to a peak, but um, faded back off that a bit. And then we had this late rally that's just taken place that's pushed things up. So, all in all, set for a fairly decent open to start with to make up for what happened. And, as we've talked about before, you could see as much as 50% lift back up into the previous down day. But there's going to be some continued selling within that, given what we're seeing from the overall readings. But That's the long and the short of it for now. As always, anything relevant, I'll put on the Skype chat for you. Have a good one. Trade well.